Life of Pi. Let's go chapter 77 to 84. So chapter 77, Pi says the portions grew less and less because he has those biscuits that he was talking about. And as they started finishing or depleting, then he started imagining all the food he could eat. So like rice and, these massive meals because obviously he's hungry. So that's what he was saying there. And then he says how turtle quickly became one of his favorite meals, and he would eat everything of the turtle, and he would even eat what was inside the turtle's stomach. And then he used the shells. The shells were quite useful as like bowls and things like that. And then he talks about feces and how like him and Richard Parker, he tried to eat Richard Parker's feces once, and he just realized like it wouldn't be beneficial for him to eat because there would be no nutrients in it anyways. Okay. Chapter 78, he talks about how the skies and the seas changed, and like they took on many different forms. And if it was raining, then he would wish it would be hot, and if it was hot, then he would wish it'd be raining. And he said like change, that's all he wanted. One book was, or like one thing was good, and one like thing was good, and then the next time it wouldn't be good, and he would like want to change it to something else. So like when it rained, he got too cold and he got soaked, but when it was hot, he was too hot and he like dried out, type of thing. Then chapter 79, he talks about how the sharks, he caught a shark once, and how he like pulled it on board, and he was going to like, he just put it on board. I'm sure he was going to eat it, and the shark and Richard Parker start fighting. And basically what he gets at is that because Richard Parker is a tiger, he's never seen a shark before, so he starts whacking it with his paw, obviously, because he's unsure. And the shark bites Richard Parker's paw. And at the end of the day, Richard Parker wins the fight against the shark because the shark can't really move. But Richard Parker ends up eating the shark, and Pi just says he left the boat because Richard Parker had been bitten and he didn't sort of want to be in the way. Then chapter 80 talks about a Dorado and how he ate a Dorado and how he was always hungry. And then once again, he talks about Richard Parker and how once he caught a Dorado and Richard Parker wanted it so Pi caught a Dorado, Richard Parker saw the Dorado and wanted it, even though Richard Parker was eating flying fish. But because Pi was so hungry, he was like, I would rather choose to die by an animal than go hungry. So he was like, okay. He stared down Richard Parker, and Richard Parker eventually turned away, which is like a sign of Pi being the dominant male, because Richard Parker looked away, he didn't stare at Pi anymore, and Pi got the Dorado. And he still said he gave a piece to Richard Parker. Then chapter 81, he says his survival is hard to believe. Sometimes he can't even believe that he actually made it. And then chapter 82, he talks about how water was so precious and how his biggest worry ever was that they would run out of water or the water bags that they had would break. And then he said, but he realized how like savage he was because he would eat just like Richard Parker. Everything got eaten, and he ate exactly like Richard Parker, the same mannerisms, everything. Then chapter 83 talks about this hectic storm that they go through, and the boat's like up and down, the waves are crashing all over the boat. And then he says it was so bad that he actually started clipping up the tarpaulin, and he got underneath with Richard Parker, which is risky. So that's how bad the storm was, that he would risk his life by being with a tiger than to risk his life by the elements. And he said he was soaked through, and it was a really terrible time. And Richard Parker was obviously also unhappy because when they woke up in the morning, when the storm had stopped, the tarpaulin was torn, and some of it was from Richard Parker, and then Pi said he just went and fixed it. Chapter 84, Pi said they only saw a whale once up close, and the whale looked at Pi right in the eye, and Pi was like, he thinks that the whale was looking for a mate, but he saw that Pi was ready with Richard Parker, and therefore he couldn't be a mate. And then he imagined that the whales would go and tell, like, see Pi, and then go and tell other whales to spread the news so that Pi could be found. And then he said, but their news never got far because of whale hunting, and the whales never got to spread the news. And then he talks about dolphins and how dolphins are also something they saw a lot. And then he talks about birds and how he caught a bird once and ate it, and he kind of lured it with a little piece of fish, and the bird came, and then he broke the bird's neck and ate it. And then he said, but the birds were never an indication of land. So normally when you see birds, it's like at sea, you know that there is land nearby. But he was saying, even though they saw birds, there was never any land. And that's all that we're going to go through today. So I hope that helps. And we're getting closer to the end. It's at the moment it's a bit boring. There's not like much symbolism to go through. So these are just quick summaries. But we'll start getting into the symbolism things in the next few chapters.